You're welcome. Today let's look at how to solve quadratic equations using method of completing squares. Now this is somehow more complex, so I expect you to pay very close attention. There's one rule that you have to grasp. Once you get that, that's the end of it. Now, when you're given a number like this, make sure this number here, this whole number, does not remain here. It is taken to the other side of the equation. So that on this side, we're only going to have these two numbers, x squared minus 4x on this side of the equation. So 12, you go the other side. Now, after taking that to the other side, something very special you have to do with this negative 4x. And now that special thing that you're going to do with this negative 4x is, you're going to take this number negative 4, just leave the x. So we are going to add this same number here. First of all, we put it in the bracket, the whole of this, negative 4, we put it in the bracket. After putting it in the bracket, we divide it by 2. You get that one? Put it in the bracket, divide it by 2 when it is still in the bracket. And then the whole of the 4 over 2, you square it. So there are two steps that you have to remember. In fact, 3. You add this same number, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. Once you get that one, that's the whole concept of completing squares. This is almost like the formula. You can use it to find the value of x for any number you're given, any quadratic equation you're given. It has no limitation. So let's see how that works. I'll break it into small bits so that you can really understand this one, because a lot of students are facing problems here. So this is what I mean. Let's do the first thing. We take 12 the other side. So now we are going to have x squared minus 4x minus 12 plus 12 equals 0 plus 12. When we are taking it to the other side of the equation, we introduce the negative of the sign, the opposite of the sign. So in this case is negative, we introduce positive. So that this and this will cancel. This will be the resultant of this number. X squared minus 4x equals 0 plus 12 will be 12. That is the first step. Don't forget. Now the next step is the one which is more confusing. Let's see how it works. We are going to have x squared minus 4x. We leave this one just the way it is. Now what I'm going to do next is the one where you have to pay much closer attention. You add this same number here, but this time put it in the bracket. So now we are going to have negative 4 over 2. First of all, you divide it by 2. After dividing this by 2, you square the whole of this. You see what I've done? First of all, you divide it by 2. This one, divide by 2. And then the whole of the bracket, you square it. And then we equate this to the other side of the equation. So the other side of the equation, we are going to have 12 plus. Now what you do here, on this side of the equation, make sure you do it to the other side of the equation. Just like while we shifted this, we introduced positive 12 here to the other side, we still do the same for this one here. We add here on this side of the equation, we go and add to the other side of the equation. So when we add it here, we're going to have 12 plus into bracket negative 4 over 2 squared. That is it. And then now when you reach this stage, now we leave this for now. This number almost has finished serving its purpose. So we leave this one out. So we are going to have x squared plus into bracket negative 4 over 2 squared equals 12 plus. Now this one here. Let's add this together. If we have negative 4 divided by 2, that will be negative 2. Negative 2 squared will be positive 4. So let's just write this one, positive 4. But on this side, we are not going to do what we did here, because we want this square to remain. We want this square to remain so that it can balance with this one here. Once it's balanced, we can be able to use it on this side to get the square root of the number which is on the other side. That's why we are not going to touch it. Now, this is what we are going to do. We divide this and we leave it just the way it is. So we are going to have x squared plus into bracket. When we divide negative 4 divided by 2 will be negative 2. The whole of this is squared equals 12 plus 4, that will be 16. Now we're going to multiply this out. Negative times a positive will be negative. So we have x squared minus 2 squared equals 16. Let's go and do this one up. Okay, now in this case, these numbers are the same, they have the same sign. So we are simply going to have x minus 2, the whole of this, they have squared 2, squared. So we are just going to put the whole of this in bracket, and then we put this 2 square, just 1 outside like that. This number is the same as this, so that is the same meaning, equals 16. Now when we reach here, this square root sign is the same as this square is the same as square root. So we are going to simply introduce the square root sign. What we introduce on this side, we are going to introduce on the other side. So that this square and this square root sign will cancel. On this side, we are left with x minus 2 equals. Now, when you get the square root of this number which is on this side, make sure it has two values, plus and minus. We are dealing with quadratic equations. That means there are always two values we are going to get. So when you get the square root of 16, it must have two values, positive and negative. And we know the square root of 16 is 4. Now this one becomes much simple. It's like factorization. Very simple. Now we're going to have x minus 2 equals, the first one is positive 4, is 4. Or x minus 2 equals the second one, which is negative 4. Okay? Two values of x. Now we take negative to the other side of the equation. We saw how to handle that. X minus 2 plus 2 equals 4 plus 2. Let's leave that one for now. So that positive 2 minus 2 will cancel. X is equals to 4 plus 2, that will be 6. That is the first value of x. Now for the second value of x, we are going to have x minus 2 equals negative 4. So that we have x minus 2 plus 2 equals negative 4 plus 2. So that this will cross. On this side we have x is equals negative 2 plus 2, that will be negative 2. So the two values of x using the the method of completing squares is negative. X is equals negative 2 and x is equals to 6.